That's
And
the state
there
of
is,
America.
Abby, there's a sense of a war of words when journalists use phrases like, for example, quote unquote, Hamas wrong Gaza, Israel's right to defend itself, or tragic collateral damage. What are they really doing linguistically here?
Look, all I'll say is that genocide does not happen in a vacuum. Genocide only happens because the propagandists cede the consent for genocide. When we're looking at the New York Times and there's painfully constructed haikus to absolve the entity murdering and slaughtering, to absolve the occupying force committing genocide, and to paint the victims as untrustworthy, that is intentional. That is a crime. That should be held accountable. This does not happen without the concerted effort from the corporate media structure to sow the seeds, to manufacture the consent. I just read a Pew poll back in May of the first year that the genocide was going on. Half of Americans didn't know if more Israelis died than Palestinians in the entirety of the conflict. Whose fault is that? That is the egregious propaganda from my corporate media. That is essentially an arm of the state. They are activated whenever manufacturing consent needs to happen, and they are activated here. It is so dystopian and
Right.
disproportionate when it comes to Gaza reporting.
But Abby, Israel supporters often say Gaza's suffering is quote unquote tragic but complex. Is complexity the new weapon of obfuscation in genocidal politics?
It's just a war of rhetoric and words. This is the propaganda that's made it so overly difficult to talk about this issue, but it's the most simple issue in the world. It's the most clear-cut issue in the world. It's an occupation that is illegal. And this occupying force is besieging a population in a ghetto and committing genocide against them. It is absolutely abhorrent that we are 2 years into this and that people have just thought that this is a complicated issue. No, we've watched babies being starved. I've watched the skeletal remains of Palestinians being carried out by the dozens in trucks. I've watched Israel dumping out bodies that are unmarked, stealing their organs. This is not complicated. This is very simple. It is only due to propaganda and political censorship that Americans and also the world didn't know. This is the most documented atrocity of our time.
True.
And it is a disgrace that it took a genocide for people to wake up.